Hello, welcome to the first lesson on the Srivijaya Kingdom. In this lesson, we're going to be learning about the geographical range as well as the political organization of the Srivijaya Kingdom. I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the kingdom itself as well. Okay. So, as you remember, between about 1 AD and about 550 AD, the kingdom of Funan was very powerful. We could say that it was the most powerful state or kingdom in Southeast Asia at that time. And the main reason it was so powerful was because of its location, its geographic location. As we studied in the past, merchants from China and India would go to Funan to trade, rather than merchants from India going all the way to China, and vice versa. They would kind of meet in the middle at Funan, which made Funan very rich. And also important, at that time, those merchants crossed the Isthmus of Kra, at least those coming from India and going to Funan. Right, so the Isthmus of Kra, located in modern-day Chumphon province, was very important, as ships would dock there, unload their cargo, move that cargo across the isthmus, reload the cargo on the other side, and then make their way to Archaeological, if that was the direction they were going in. Okay, but then, again, just as review, by about 550 AD, things have begun to change. Shipping technologies and navigation have become more advanced. Ships were able to stay at sea for longer periods of time, so it was easier for them to not to go through, rather, the Isthmus of Kra, but to go around the Malaysian Peninsula and through the Strait of Malacca. All right. So here's a map of how the Indian Ocean trade route looked after the Kingdom of Funan lost power. Okay, so sometime after the, or during and after the 6th century AD. So you can see ships from China, from Guangzhou, and they traveled down the South China Sea, all right, and around the Malaysian Peninsula through the Strait of Malacca, and then on through to India. But actually, as we'll see, most of those merchants from China actually stopped halfway, just as they did during the time of Funan, and traded here, in Palembang. All right. So the successor, or the kingdom that became powerful after Funan, in regards to trade at least, was the Srivijaya Kingdom. All right, and this was a civilization which existed in modern-day southern Thailand, Malaysia, and also some of modern-day Indonesia. And it lasted from about the 7th to the 13th century AD. All right. So it was in existence at the same time as the Vajrayana Kingdom. Okay, but Srivijaya was the kingdom that was most involved in trade, although the Vajrayana Kingdom, of course, was involved in some trade as well, as we have learned. So, like Funan, Srivijaya became a vassal state of China. So they sent tribute missions there regularly, and the Chinese recognized they recognized Srivijaya as a friend, and they agreed to protect Srivijaya just as they had Funan, and they were guaranteed trading partners with China, which was very important because, again, China was most likely the most powerful state in Asia at the time. All right, so the kingdom of Srivijaya, like the Vajrayana civilization, was organized into city-states or small kingdoms. It was not one large unified kingdom. Okay. most people from Srivijaya spoke the Malaysian language, at least people on the island of Sumatra and in the capital city of Palembang, which you find here on the island of Sumatra. They spoke Malay. Alright, but like the people from the Varavati civilization, like the people from Funan, the Srivijaya people also used Sanskrit and Pali for religious purposes. And we'll speak more about that in a future lesson. Now, in regards to city-states or small kingdoms, okay, as we have learned, there were several small kingdoms on the Malaysian peninsula, including Tan Son, which became a vassal state of Funan. But we don't know a lot about the history of Tan Son, and in fact, we don't know a lot about the history of many of those small kingdoms or city-states that existed on the Malaysian peninsula in the first millennium AD. Alright. This slide, I've been through most of this already. But just to emphasize its position, okay, between China and India. Alright. That's what made this kingdom come into existence, essentially, and what helped it become so powerful. Just like Funan, it was the most convenient place to meet up and trade. So the Chinese merchants, the Indian merchants, Arab merchants, etc., Persian merchants would meet up here. Right, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. But right now I want to just go into a little bit of detail about two very important city-states or small kingdoms that Srivijaya controlled. One of them was a kingdom called Tambraling, which existed in modern-day Nakhon Si Thammarat. Alright, and this kingdom, Tambraling, existed since about the 6th century AD, so perhaps even before Srivijaya came into existence. But then at some point after that, when Srivijaya became very powerful, it sort of took over Tambraling. And that happened in about the 8th century AD. And Tambraling eventually gained independence from Srivijaya when Srivijaya began to lose power, and it lasted as its own independent kingdom after that, and it would be significant for religious purposes during the time of the Sukhothai kingdom, and we will speak about that in a future unit. Okay, and it eventually fell under the power of the Thai kingdoms. Right. You can see this picture here of a very big chedi, which exists in the town of Nakhon Si Thammarat at Wat Pra Mahathat Wara Mahavihan. Okay, and it's a very beautiful chedi, very big, and it's actually being painted white. Alright, so right here you can see that the paint is worn off in this photo, and also the paint is worn off in this photo, although it's a very beautiful picture. This is what it looks like today. Alright, and I recommend anybody who goes to Nakhon Si Thammarat town, they go to visit this beautiful chedi. Okay. Well, this chedi was actually probably built in the 13th or 14th century, so either at the very end of the Srivijaya kingdom or even after it fell. Okay, but it certainly did exist at the time of Tambraling, and when Tambraling was independent after Srivijaya had lost power. Alright, another kingdom, one that we don't know a whole lot about, was Lankasuka. Alright, this was again another city-state or small kingdom which existed even further south than Tambraling, okay, but more north than, say, the island of Sumatra or Palembang. Alright, so this kingdom, like Tambraling, came under control of Srivijaya in the 8th century AD. But it existed as far back as the 2nd century AD. So even before Tamberling, before the Varavati civilization came into being, Lankasuka was its own kingdom. Right? But we don't know a whole lot about it. There is some archaeological evidence. There's also quite a few written sources from different places, from the Chinese, from the Malay, from Arab travelers as well. They all wrote at least a little bit about Lankasuka. Okay. And in regards to archaeological evidence, there have been some buildings uncovered, like this one here, which is the base of a religious monument, okay, which was found in Patani. All right, so the kingdom of Lankasuka was located in modern-day Patani province. Okay, they've also uncovered some Buddha statues from the time. Many of those Buddha statues actually show influence from the Varavati civilization. So at different points in time, during the time in which Lankasuka was its own kingdom or city-state, it drew on artistic influences from the Varavati kingdom, or rather the Varavati civilization, as well as Srivijaya art. Okay. It was actually so important in regards to religion and Buddhism that some Chinese Buddhists stopped over at Lankasuka to study Buddhism, okay, before they went all the way to India, the homeland of the Buddha. Alright, so this, again, just to recap, Lankasuka was independent at some points during its history, and it was also under the control of Srivijaya at other points, especially during the 8th century AD. And I've included a little video here that was made by some Thai students from a university in the south of Thailand. I believe they're from the Prince of Songkla University, so you can check out that video if you like. And that's it for this lesson. So thank you very much for listening.